everyone, welcome to episode 6 of Road to MUN presented by MTS. Today our topic is draft resolution. Jekhane we will be discussing what is draft resolution and how to prepare a good draft resolution. Well, draft resolution বলতে গেলে আমাদের কমিটি সেশনসে প্রেজেন্ট করা সবচেয়ে ইম্পর্টেন্ট ডকুমেন্ট যেটা কনফারেন্সের একেবারে শেষের দিকে প্রেজেন্ট করতে হয়. So what is this? It is basically a detailed compilation of all the solutions that we talk about in the committee session, and whether the draft resolution passes or fails determines the success of the committee. So, since this is such a formal document, it needs to be written in a predefined format. So, the draft resolution can be divided into three main parts. Jekhane first part is basically a general overview of the draft resolution. So, firstly, amader thakbe je what is the name of the draft resolution. Name ta ei format e lekha hoy draft resolution x.x.x. Jekhane protiti x is an integer value which has a special significance or meaning behind it. So, what does the first x stand for? It basically represents the number of agendas which are discussed in the committee. So, jodi amader shudhu ektai agenda thake in the committee, amader prottekti draft resolution will start with 1.x.x. So, let's say there are two agendas, then the first one will be named 1.x.x and the second one will be named 2.x.x and so on. What does the second x stand for? The second x basically denotes the number of blocks in the committee, but in easier words, it is the number of draft resolutions which will be presented under each agenda. So let's say there are one draft resolution under the second agenda that will be named 2.1.x, right? Now, what does the last and the final x stand for? It denotes the number of unfriendly amendments that are passed in the committee. Ekhon unfriendly amendments ki jinish seta amra ei video te ekটু pore jene nebo. So, let's say there were 3 unfriendly amendments under the second draft resolution presented under the first agenda. So, tokhon oi draft resolution er name ta hobe 1.2.3. That's it. After the name of the draft resolution, the name of the committee is written in full form on the second line. The third line contains the agenda and the fourth line contains the list of sponsors. So what are the sponsors? The sponsors are the ones who are basically the main authors of the draft resolution and who are presenting the draft resolution to the committee. They are the ones who are responsible for each and every word and punctuation mark that goes into the draft resolution. And then the fifth line contains the list of signatories. Signatories are the ones who want the draft resolution to be presented to the committee, but they do not necessarily need to vote for it or against it or anything else, to be honest. They do not have to support it. The list of sponsors and the signatories must be written in their official full name, and prottekta country machkhane there needs to be a comma, and at the end there will be no punctuation mark. And after all this, it contains the phrase the General Assembly comma, and that's it. That's the end of the first section. Oh, and just a reminder, if it's the United Nations Security Council, tahole hocche first section er ended there won't be the phrase the General Assembly comma, instead there will be the Security Council comma. And the second section, it contains the preambulatory clauses. What are the preambulatory clauses? It is basically a list of introductory phases jekhane we use it to ease into the third section of the draft resolution. So what is an example of a preambulatory clause? It can be like recalling past UN resolutions, and then you name the resolutions X, Y, Z, etc. So what is the format of it? So each preambulatory clause starts with a preambulatory phrase. And to know what is a preambulatory phrase, it is basically, in the simplest terms, a verb plus ing. And to find a list of preambulatory phrases, please check out the PDF link given in the description box. Okhane ekti deya ache. And what you need to be the most careful about is that each preambulatory clause ends with a comma. The third section contains the operative clauses. Each operative clause starts with the operative phrase, a list of which is also given in the description box. So, what is an operative phrase? In the simplest terms, an operative phrase is basically a verb plus s or es depending upon the verb. And after that starts the operative clause, which is basically a list of the actions in the form of the solutions that were decided upon during the committee sessions. Each operative clause must end with a semicolon except the last one, and the last operative clause ends with a full stop. Except the last operative clause, there must be no other full stop in the entire draft resolution. So, ebhabe dekhte gele bola jete pare je the entire draft resolution is one single sentence. and the moment in time there is a full stop in the middle of the draft resolution, it basically denotes that the draft resolution ends there and erpore jai lekha hok na keno, that is not taken into account. So delegates must check the draft resolution for punctuation errors several times before presenting it to the committee. Also, the most important thing that you need to remember is that committee te discuss kora hoyni emon kono solution you cannot add to the draft resolution under any circumstance, although you can add additional details. So for example, apni jodi committee te bole thaken je let's say as a delegate of Germany, I will be donating funds for this cause. So in the draft resolution you can add details like how much fund or through whom the funds will be given and stuff like that. But if you do not mention anything about funds, you cannot say that the countries will be giving funds in the draft resolution. So each operative clause bananor shomoy we have to make sure je ekhane tinta jinish khub clearly specify kora thake, that is 1, what is the solution, 2, what issue does the solution aim to solve, and number 3, how will the solution be implemented. Finally, after the draft resolution is presented to the committee, a question and answer session follows, where the other delegates ask questions to the sponsor regarding the draft resolution, and the sponsors have to answer them. After which, the amendment session begins, which is basically where the delegates propose changes to certain parts or certain clauses of the draft resolution. Now, amendments can be of 3 types. So, the prothom je dhornta amra jani seta hocche amendment for modification, যেখানে the delegates propose to change a certain part or clause of the draft resolution. Amendment for deletion, যেখানে একটি entire clause delete করে দেয়া হয় বা বাদ করে দেয়া হয়, and amendment for addition, যেখানে একটি certain clause, word or phrase add করা হয় to an existing clause. Once the amendment is proposed, the sponsor gets to decide whether the amendment is friendly or unfriendly. A friendly amendment is one যেখানে the sponsor agrees to the change proposed and it is immediately brought into effect with no voting. An unfriendly amendment is where যেখানে the sponsor does not agree to the change proposed and so this goes into voting. ওই চেঞ্জটা তারপর to be added to the draft resolution, a 2/3 majority is needed. If after the amendments the core meaning of the draft resolution gets changed, tahole the draft resolution is usually scrapped. But if not, then the draft resolution goes into voting. For the draft resolution to pass, it needs a vote of the majority of the delegates present, which is 50% plus 1 of the delegates. So ekhon the delegates can vote either yes, no or abstain for the draft resolution depending on their status in the roll call, which is whether they chose present or present and voting. And that's all for today's video. Make sure to follow MTS on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. MUN related je kono questions or problems thakle, email us anytime at the mail address provided below. That's all. Goodbye.